Hi, thanks for tuning into this first episode of the latest series of Breaking New Ground. It's been a while. Over the last 20 years, our government has built over 3 million houses for our people. However, with rapid urbanization and people moving from the rural areas in search of better economic prospects in the cities, housing demand far outstrips supply. Now, in a bold move to address this huge backlog, the latest Minister of Human Settlements, Minister Sisulu, has committed the government to building 1.5 million houses over the next 5 years. This is a huge undertaking. Let's see how she's going to go about it. Minister Sisulu, thank you so much for joining us on this new and exciting series of Breaking New Ground.
Thank you. I've been looking forward to this.
It's been a while.
We had an excellent run in the previous administration.
Yeah. What's your reflection, though, on the different areas, the different ministries that you've run up to now?
I have discovered that if you fall in love with what you're doing, then you give your best. Mm-hmm. And I have been very lucky that I have managed to find my niche in every department. But when I got back to human settlements, I felt at home that this is what we started off, the concept of human settlements. And I look back on some of the work we've done, and I'm extremely proud of what we have done.
To be specific, you were Minister of Human Settlements. It was called Housing back then.
It was called Housing.
From 2004 to 2009.
Yes.
Could you take us through what your priorities back then were, just to recap on that?
Well, our priorities was to change the policy from housing to human settlements, to change the spatial patterns of apartheid, to ensure that we have integrated communities, to create a new world, new cities, a new concept of how to live in South Africa. We based ourselves on the Freedom Charter that indicates that we shall destroy slums, because that is what our people lived in all those years in apartheid when they'd been displaced from their land. We committed ourselves in the Freedom Charter that there shall be houses for all. And further than that, in the Constitution, we actually made it a constitutional obligation that there shall be adequate housing. And it's important that we understand that adequate housing does not mean free housing for all. It means that there will be adequate availability of housing, adequate housing opportunities for all to get a house should they need one. So all of that had to be kind of reconfigured. Fortuitously, we were the chair then of African Ministers for Human Settlements and Urban Development. So we learned a lot from people who'd been in the space before ourselves on the African continent. We built on what we found in the old housing department. And it took about 2 years for us to completely turn around and make sure that this concept that we put is a workable one.
What I would like us to look at now is the 1.5 million houses in 5 years. And I worked out that there's 300,000 houses per annum. There's 25,000 houses a month. That's over 800 houses a day.
Yeah.
It sounds like a phenomenally huge target.
Yeah.
Is it realistic?
It is, because we achieved 1.2 between 2004 and 2009. So we're just adding an extra 300,000, which is not much really. But what we're doing is making sure that we can tie it up with a number of other things. So the emphasis is not so much on the number, because we've already achieved that number. We're just adding 1 year extra onto that. It is achievable. We've done it.
But having said that, I mean, there has to be plans in a way that this vision gets met.
Yeah.
Are there any specific things that you're doing this time around that will make sure that this much larger target is achieved?
You know, Eric, if we had it our way and we had the resources, we would be able to completely eradicate the backlog in the next 5 years. But we don't have the resources. So what we're doing now is to try and get other people, other stakeholders, to understand that housing the nation is an essential part of bringing the dignity of our people back to them. It is an essential part of giving back what was taken from them. So we are trying to make sure that everybody understands that we are all responsible for housing this nation. We are going to be putting together a housing Indaba to bring everybody, every stakeholder on board to say we will do better, we will do it quicker, and we will go much further if you come along with us, because there is something in each one of them that they would gain out of this. I believe that every employer has a responsibility towards the conditions under which the person who they employ lives. We wanting to make sure that we can say to ShopRite, to Woolworths, to any other large employer, that you have a responsibility towards the conditions of your employer, and we are here to help you do that. And when we've done that and we are all together in this, we can do so much more.
So it would be correct then to say you are expanding the team to make sure the new target is done. The MECs are there. You worked with them to achieve 1.2, but now the private sector comes in. Now government also comes in a new way, so that everybody is involved, which takes us to the human settlements Indaba.
Yes.
You talk as a department now of housing opportunities.
Yes.
Could you tell us what those are? What do you mean by that?
Okay. We are providing housing, free housing for the indigent. However, we also provide some subsidy for those people who might want to rent to buy, so that we can give them the necessary leverage. We are providing the infrastructure, bulk infrastructure, and the necessary services for people who might want to build their own houses. So we talk of opportunities because we provide those opportunities.
And they cover different needs within the housing sector,
depending on the need of the individual.
How does one find out what one qualifies for and how one gets it?
Well, we are putting up a program such as I'm hoping we will be running this one, and you will be interviewing the MECs and our technocrats to explain to people how they register for a house. We are requiring every province to make sure that they have a central database. I do know that in Gauteng there is a housing customer service center. I'm hoping that in every province we will have a central place where people can go to put their names on the database for housing, to check how far they are on the housing list. Yeah. People should understand how they qualify. People should understand who qualifies. And perhaps we might even cut down on protests. You know, people will have applied their mind whether or not they qualify, whether or not they have done their part to get what government is providing. So that it's a partnership between communities and ourselves.
We'll take a short break. When we come back, we'll talk about more of the other priorities that the minister has. Stay with us. Welcome back, and thank you so much for tuning in to Breaking New Ground. There's a perception out there that within the housing sector, there is tender rigging, some levels of corruption, maladministration in certain areas, and that this is probably one of your biggest obstacles to achieving the goals you've set for the department. What have we got in place to get around that?
You know, we are, as a government, concerned about the levels of corruption, and therefore we would need to make sure at all times that we insulate our people from the possibility of corruption. But we are concerned about the Auditor General's report. That is an indication from time to time to us what is the level of corruption within a particular sector. So the better part of October, November, we'll be looking at exactly what is the level of corruption, if any, in the Department of Human Settlements. And we will be taking each case by case and making sure that we attend to it. But we've done a lot, even in the previous administration, to understand what causes corruption and how we can stop it.
Okay, we've talked a little bit about the corruption as an obstacle, but also one could argue that with the rapid urbanization, you know, with everybody moving so quickly into the cities, yours is more or less an impossible job, isn't it?
It is. We're wanting to make sure when we have this spatial plan, national spatial plan, that we can actually influence industry to be located where people are, that we can influence transport to go to where people are, so that we actually have all the necessary amenities available for all. So we are hoping that we can actually decentralize the city, if it is possible. And I think it is possible. Most of our rural areas do not have employment possibilities. And I think the reason why we had a Department for Rural Development is to create the possibility where people who are in the rural areas have the same kind of amenities as you who live in the city.
Earlier on, you touched a little bit on what you are doing for the elderly as a prioritized group. Could you elaborate on that?
It just seems the most natural thing to do, because these are people who would have lived the better part of their lives in conditions that are unacceptable. And these are the people that we owe the best quality of life to. And these are the people who are truly indigent. These are the people who need to be truly prioritized. But when you look around, you actually still find elderly people living in unacceptable conditions, and their health can't take it, their mobility can't take it. We just need, as a country, to show that we do care, and this is the best place to show we do care.
But you've also prioritized military veterans. Could you take us through that?
Yes. You know, military veterans is a group of people we should have prioritized in 1994. But we will live and learn with time. So in 2006, in the Department of Housing, we put together a policy. When we passed the policy and put it to Cabinet and Parliament about making sure that there's a special allocation of housing for military veterans, we found we didn't have a database of the military veterans in the Department of Housing. But then when the Department of Military Veterans was established in Defence, we thought, this is a natural partner. We'll partner with them. They'll give us the database. We'll do the building of the houses so that we are able to cater for that. And the first military veterans that will be given houses is going to be in Vleerhof. Vleerhof is an integrated project that we have just across from Meadowlands. A beautiful place, and it's fully integrated. And in there is a military veterans estate that will include beautiful houses and a frail care center, together with all the amenities that will make their life, worth living. Now, if you provide them with a house, you provide them with an asset. You indicate to them that the dignity that they fought for is within reach. So it will be the first step. I think the Department of Military Veterans has been looking after their health up to now, but now we can provide them with houses.
Well, if you talk about the elderly and you talk about military veterans, I guess, there's no better place to talk about the quality of housing.
Yeah.
But what is now being done, and how much improvement from the last time you were here are we going to see in terms of the quality of house that is being given?
Well, when you get to Vleerhof, you will see the quality of housing. We put up an entity called the NHBRC, whose job it is to ensure that the quality of housing is up to the required standards that are laid down in our legislation and in our housing code. And some contractors have been getting away with murder. But what we're doing now is making sure that we can tighten up. And where we find that there is shoddy housing, we're requiring the contractor to go back and redo those houses. We're not going to spend a cent from government redoing those houses. Should we find that they've done it more than once, then we'll blacklist them. They will no longer be able to participate in building houses for the state. But we are hoping that the NHBRC makes sure that anybody, anywhere, who builds a house will need to pay for the warranty of that house, so that if anything has gone wrong, they come back to repair it. We will be putting up our own team of inspectors to make sure that there's compliance in every house that is built for us.
Welcome back, and thanks again for watching what is the first episode of the newest season of Breaking New Ground. The Minister was talking to us before the break about her priorities for the Department of Human Settlements and what we are going to see happen over the next 5 years. But what do you, the viewer, think of what she's doing, and what are your questions to her? Minister, we have taken some voice pops here, okay. People wanting to know a few things, so let's just roll them and so you can answer some of them.
Igama lami ndinguNtombizethu eTokwe ngihlala ekhaya center but ngibuya East London dine 7 years ngihlala la ekhaya center. So apha ekhaya center siyachelwa imikhukhu, sichelwa zimpahla yonke into yethu but akunanqobeko eya phambili. Asitholi electric, asitholi izindlu, asitholi intoni, sihleli nje. Uyabona? So bezama ubuza nje ukuthi maybe singaba noncedo nini sincedwe nini ukuthi singasuswa apha kule ndawo.
This is a very common problem where people don't know how to get help. And there is an innovation that Home Affairs has perfected, and that is mobile units. So perhaps what we could do is also explore the possibility of mobile units that go round to areas like this, you know, that indicate how we can help them. Because the problem that she has is that she has not registered for a house. Because if she had registered, she would be knowing, you know, that she is on the list. She's been waiting to get a house, and she would be knowing at some point when the house will be built for her. So she would have been an identified beneficiary. She got to the informal settlement and just settled there. And now, after 7 years, she realizes that, look, things are passing me by.
So, moka center mo, kala recipiswa dintlo lore, batla la pleke ba recruita moka center. Ene ke nako e tele ba recipisitse. Selemo le selemo re change dinomoro. Hobane ba re jwetsa leshano hore dintlo di a hlaha. Ene batla la pleke ba re se ho yona. Nna ke a botsa hore minister ka hore selemo ke tsena tsa tsela ile hore selemo se tlang rona batho ba holo tla re etsetsa eng.
Well, she's talking about what you touched on here.
Yes. Okay. The good thing about it is now she has come forward to say she is an elderly person. She's on our priority list. Therefore, what we're going to do is go and look for her. Hagakra lina lamme hore ke ma empa ke tshepa hore ba nkile molaetsa o ba utlwisitse go nna ba tla mo tseba mme re tla khutlela ho yena re mlelle hore tla mo lokisetsa ntlo. And by the end of this year re tla be re mo tlisitse kwa leng teng re mo kenya ka montlong go bontsha setšhaba hore re ikemiseditse hore batho ba bagolo ba tla kra dintlo tsa bona ka pelenyana ke bona re bona hore o tshwantse re ba phakisetse re ba fe dintlo. It's very sad hore ke mmone mme a le mokana a dutse ka mo mokhukhu wa utlwa le ka tsela bua ka teng hore ka nnete pele botlhoko. So umlele ere ke hore ra tla mona.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Basitsana Mhlahledi. I'm a student of psychology here in Rosebank, and I am very concerned about the shacks because I live in a township called Spruit, where there's a lot of shacks. There's a segment strictly for shacks, and I was wondering if that would ever change. And I see a lot of empty fields where there's literally nothing there. So I was wondering if there would be intentions of changing that.
Yes, you know, that's a kind of thing that would worry anybody. You live in a township, you see people living in shacks, and you wonder when is government going to come to those people and sort them out. In time, we will have a education program that will actually indicate when people who are in particular areas will be moving from where they are to other places. But where she says that she sees a lot of vacant land, some of that land does not belong to us. We can only use land that belongs to government. And shacks is what we are committed to eliminating.
Igama lami nguHlehle, ngisebenza ka-Milford Device. Sabhalisa izindlu ze-RDP ngo-1999. Into engifunyazi from izindlu ze-RDP zaqala from 96 bakhipha abantu baka 96 kanti abaphela abantu baka 96 balokhu bakhipha izindlu zabo. There's a lot of fraud futhi kulento le yama RDP. Kunabantu osizwa ukuthi kukhishwe imali, lezo imali lezo bafakwe phambili, izindlu ze-RDP ziyathengiswa. Why kungafunwa abantu abazokwazi ukuchecka zonke lezo zinto time to time, benza ama follow up ukuthi indlu le nje obiphumile ingene kumnikazi na o umnikazi usahlala kuyo. Because it's been years, it's more than 20 years now, sa register lezo zindlu lezo. So the safe thola boku sithole ngoba sesingabogogo or something else. So we need a change in South Africa ukuthi sizokwazi ukuba nezindlu.
question she's asking is how long would they need to wait? And this is what we're trying to create create a database for, so that she's able to go to the customer care and check how long is the waiting list, because Gauteng has the biggest number of informal settlements. So therefore, their waiting list will be longer than one you would get in the Northern Cape. So, but she needs to have some kind of certainty when her house might be built. And therefore, I would like to direct her to go to that customer care and check.
And when will the database be ready?
I think that in her case, because she would have been given a number, it would be possible.
Okay.
But what we're doing is cleaning up the database so that it becomes a truly national database with integrity, so that she does not begin to doubt whether or not there is no money changing hands for people to jump the queue, because that normally is the accusation.
Hi, my name is Chapelo. I'm from Diepkloof. I've got a problem at Diepkloof, thinking ukuthi la sala khona nje ugesi uyasokolisa, and manje siyacimelwa nokudla kuyamosheka efridgini, and no izindlu like ziningi lapho. So if ever nje banga-increase i-housing around it or build RDP for abantu abahlala khona, because uqole nemikhukhu futhi. So ngicela ukubuza minister ukuthi wena ungayenzani nje kanjalo ukuthi usisize, njengoba nje ungasifakela nje electricity or substation nje eduzane or nje izindlu nje lapho. Ngiyabonga minister, I hope nje nga-attenda leyo call yami.
Is he probably talking about illegal connections that end up affecting them?
He is probably talking about illegal connections, because you see the amount of electricity that is directed to a particular settlement will be enough for that particular settlement. But then you have informal settlements next to them that tap electricity. And of course then they tap more than the voltage that is going to the particular area. And this happens quite a lot, and it is quite dangerous, because it can result in deaths of young people.
Is there anything that your department can do about this?
Yes, we work as clusters in government. So this is the kind of thing I'll be discussing with the Minister of Energy and the Minister of Public Enterprises, who's responsible for Eskom, how we can deal with this. But the tapping of electricity is a terrible, terrible scourge. I don't know why they call it izinyoka.
Yeah.
But it is quite dangerous, and it deprives the people who we intend to give electricity of the full amount of electricity.
And those who are paying.
And those who are paying, yes.
And
those who are paying.
Thank you so much for joining us on Breaking New
pleasure.
Ground. And welcome back. It's going to be great.
Thank you. It's great to have you and the team. I've missed you, and nobody told me they missed me, so I mean...
We did too.
But it's great to be back. I hope that we will be able to give the necessary education to our people about what is possible and what it is that we're doing, because government is doing a lot. We're just not communicating sufficiently, and I'm hoping that this will help us communicate.
I'm sure it will. Well, that's it for this edition of the newest season of Breaking New Ground. Thank you so much for joining us. Please tune in again next time when we travel across the country and show you what is being done.